See, it's a tradition, Christy.
Yeah, I know. I've heard two.
Well, but I heard, I did hear.
You've only listened
two.
to two?
So it doesn't
this
matter to her.
That's not
for
shocking.
a different podcast, not today.
It's too much information, isn't it? You're like, it's too much.
Man, it's rich with content.
Well, I listened to Bill's, and it kind of, when I didn't hear the scream, it just kind of, I
Look,
thought it
man.
was-
Well, I tried
We
to
call
do
it
it. and it's not
Scream-Free
good.
Podcast.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah, that's all right. I mean, we
Can I
got
get invited to one of those?
Scream
Sure.
we got a lot of talking to do, so you may be screaming for other reasons.
Yes. You're
So-
screaming because you had no power this morning, Christy.
Yeah, it was so hot.
I
My
know.
hair was sweaty.
Yeah.
Had to go to my friend's house and get ready.
Why is it that the hotter it is outside, the greater the odds are that you will not have air conditioning? You ever notice that? It rarely goes out in the winter.
Right.
It's because it's working in the summer, man.
I'm just saying that frustrates me.
I mean, that's off. Your
frustrating.
heater's running in
By
the
the way,
other
But
time.
I'm saying, like if you're gonna have a power outage, I'm gonna pick winter.
Well,
I'm just glad it's cool in here because one of the podcasts out of the two that I did listen to, you were hot
I
and you
was.
were sweating.
Last
The AC
week.
was out
Last
on
week
2 or
it
3.
was.
I can't remember.
Last
So
week
I was
with
just
Bill.
thinking it wasn't going to be good if I came in here and the air was
We had
out.
two
It feels
fans
good.
running.
That's why I shaved my head so I wouldn't,
Well, it
be
feels
so
good.
hot.
Looks better too.
Thank you.
all right, we got to get right into it.
Yes.
We got a lot to talk about, and Christy's got things to do. So,
right.
Christy,
We're
thank
all-
you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank y'all for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
No, you're not. That's a lie. You're a lie.
Lie.
All right, the reason
So-
we're meeting is we are trying to talk about what we are doing because everyone is asking. Because some pastor, some guy that got on the stage and said, we're going to meet July 5th. I don't remember who that was, but
That would be you.
okay. Some guy got up and said, this is what we think we're going to do. Mm-hmm. Well, we're here to announce officially that ain't going to happen.
No.
No,
Hey, to be
not.
fair to you though, situations have changed.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying that as we're moving forward, we're trying to communicate why these decisions are being made and why we're kind of, reevaluating and trying to figure out the best plan to move forward. I.e., Texas, this is, again, being aired today. It'll come
I
on
think-
today, Wednesday, right?
Yeah, it'll be as soon as we're done. So 11.
Yeah.
Although if you're listening to it, you're listening to
Yeah,
it.
it doesn't.
whenever
Well,
you are. Sorry.
No, but
Wow.
the time frame matters
we were
because
live.
we're recording
Yeah.
this on Wednesday, which is
Yeah.
June what?
24th.
24th.
June
So
24th.
as of June 24th, Dr. Fauci got on, which is whether you like him or don't.
I like him.
Well, no, some do, some don't.
I think he's cool.
He got out and said the next 2 weeks are critical
Right.
to reduce or stop or minimize the spread of COVID-19. Thus, I think it's a great transition for what is today? Wrong button. I think it's the red one, but go ahead, hit it.
Ooh, you
COVID-19 update with the Children's Ministry.
Yes.
Children's Ministry, because
Man, are we at
Children's
Hillsong
Ministry.
United?
Look
no,
at it.
they don't listen either. I can promise you, they're not tuning into the Simple Church podcast.
Hey, you
no.
never know, dude.
No, I can promise you they're not. So, but my reason I said it is we were trying to figure out what we're going to do. And when he's saying 2 weeks, these next 2 weeks are very critical to reduce the spread, you got to kind of go, hold on a second. Let's dial it back or let's slow the dimmer turn, if you will. But then I called my buddy down in Houston, Kenny, they opened 3 weeks ago. So I said, let me get a real-time update on a church that opened and was ready to go. He was running around 30%, he said, like everybody else. But they have multiple COVID cases in their church now. The mask mandate is in place. The potential for shutting them down or going back to a maximum size of 10 is around the corner because the hospitals are requesting that because all of the hospitals in the Houston area are, according to Kenny, this is, again, he's no reason to lie to me. I'm just telling you, I try to state my source. So when somebody goes, well, where do you get that from? It's directly from a pastor down in Houston, Sugar Land area. So he's saying, man, it's complicated. This whole thing is complicated, and we're still trying to figure out. So what we're trying to do is avoid, as Dr. Keith. Hold on. We just got COVID.
Sorry.
There it is. There's a COVID sneeze. We're done.
Real time
Put your mask on, kids.
Oh, my God.
Put your mask on. We do have masks. Christy A. brought us today. You can
Yes.
tell that it's muffled once I put it on. How long do them particles stay in the air?
3 days.
3
Oh,
days.
It's too late. Okay.
There's a mask.
Yeah, and I did just get back from Baton Rouge. So
Oh, great.
Gosh.
What in the anyway?
You're welcome.
We may be delaying a little later, but that's why all we're trying to do. So me and you, Christy, we were kind of talking because we don't. I mean, it's no secret. We really don't know. We're trying to make the best decisions to keep everybody safe, keep kids safe, and figure that out. But we look like we're moving towards the latter part of July, the first part of August, depending on, again, how things shake out. I like what Andy Stanley said. It's like, hey, man, we've kind of set a date, but it's just a plan, and it's a loose plan. And as you know, plans change, just like if you're going on vacation or going out to dinner. Sometimes you make some adjustments on that. So we're adjusting the plan based on the information that we have from reliable sources that we probably need to slow that down a little bit.
Yeah, and Christy, you talked with some folks in California, and similar,
And Fort Worth
Challenges.
and South Louisiana and
right?
churches
Well,
across the board.
Maybe we should introduce who we're talking to today.
Oh, yeah.
In case they're a new listener.
Yeah. That's Christy Aguiar, our children's pastor.
Yes.
Yay.
Come on.
Come on.
I'm
Christy
so-
affectionately referred to because Aggie, some people say Aguillard. They all try to get all
I
the
know.
syllables
Yes.
in there. But Christy
I've
A.
heard of Gwillard, too.
Gwillard.
Lots of
Willard?
letters are
Yeah.
pronounced
Willard.
that even aren't in there.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
Christy A's.
Yeah.
Now,
And
look.
because there's a Christy R.
Yes.
Now,
So
look,
that's
it would
what-
not be a podcast without mentioning Super Dave
Yes.
Aguiar, her hubby.
He actually is one of the listeners.
He does listen.
Yes.
He'll tell me.
And I want him to hear me say that back to the old Simple Racing days.
Oh, gosh.
Here we go.
which I have my shirt on.
Look, thank you for representing.
It's
He was one of the pioneer crew chiefs for Simple
Yes.
Racing.
Yes,
So,
he
Super
was.
Dave, we love you.
Yeah, and I heard
Yeah,
that.
we
And he
do.
didn't
We
cheat.
do.
That's right. He didn't cheat like some other crew chiefs we hired and fired.
Dave's not a cheater. I play golf with him. He plays by the rules.
That's right.
Right.
that's
And
why
he's
we
an
love
excellent
you.
golfer.
Yes, he
Very.
is.
Is.
Probably one of the best that I know.
Oh, he'll love that.
That's
hear
true.
that.
I've seen him play. I mean, he's good.
He did win a gift card Sunday at the Father's Man Day
Yeah.
golf.
Man Day.
Yeah.
Monday.
Well, that
Had
was fun.
Had he ever been to David Tom's before?
I think I don't know the answer to
Yeah,
that
I'm not because I mean
question.
not a lot of people have because it's kind of a closed thing. But like for golfers, it's kind of fun to go and see what the Tom's people have put together because it's awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
for what it is, it's cool.
I'm
Yeah,
not a
good time.
golfer.
Yeah, I was about to say that's your favorite place, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, anyway, so we've got some of those things that way. I just know there's a lot of information people
Yes.
are waiting on, so I don't
Yeah,
want to get them
let's do it.
distracted. So what were they saying from California to Fort Worth to South Louisiana?
Yeah, so they're saying we all started with the plan like we did. And then every day the plan changes.
Yeah.
So we just have to pause and relax and just let it play out and see and know that children's ministry may look different
Yeah.
than it has. I mean, I've been a children's pastor for 21 years and
That means something. I mean, that's a lot of experience.
Yeah.
Some people are brand new and they don't know, so they go. If they don't know you, you've got a lot of experience working with kids.
working
didn't
with
know
kids and being in churches different
all
churches,
sizes.
all areas, and we've always just kind of done the same thing. You've revamped things and made it work with your church, but right now, children's pastors everywhere. I'm on a lot of forums and a lot of Facebook pages, and we're all just trying to figure it out.
Yeah, and I talked to Kenny about that a little bit too, because obviously I've just known Kenny a long time. He's the only one. The reason I keep referring to him, I talked to him today. I said, "Man, I want to talk to you before I go on the podcast," because his phrase in their staff meeting was, "It may never look the same." Not only church, but children's ministry, because of the people's fears, because of what COVID has done to the church in general. Because everybody's still trying to figure that out. They're trying to go, "Am I coming back? Do I feel safe to come back? I want to come back, but I'm not sure." And then a lot of people that were on the fringe probably are going, "Man, it's the summer too." So they're
Right.
going, "Man, I'm not in a rush to get back." And then I saw a buddy of ours that goes to Simple Church. I told y'all staff meeting on Monday. He pulled up next to me, and his office had about 10 people infected. That's somewhere local. I don't know exactly where his office was. I didn't ask him, but he was like, "Man, it's getting crazy." I don't know, and we don't know, but we're just trying to seek wisdom from people that are walking through it maybe a little ahead of us, or experiencing things maybe a little bit different. So that's why I appreciate you, Christy, because you're leading that. You're able to, hey, let me just see, because none of us are experts. So obviously you're not listening to this podcast, you think we're experts, but you are trying to probably get our heart of why are you waiting, or what are you doing, and what does that look like? So that's why I appreciate the feedback you're giving.
Well, to be fair, I mean, nobody's been an expert on the pandemic since 1918. So the whole world's trying to figure this out. And that's one of the things that's so complicated about it is the information is constantly evolving.
Yeah.
So you go back to March when this first started, and everybody thought that we would have maybe a summer break, and then it might ramp back up in the fall.
It didn't do that.
It didn't do
Yeah.
that. So
and
that's
one
tricky.
of the churches I talked to yesterday, the children's pastor just said, we were just planning for 3 or 4 weeks to get by. And then this week in our meeting, we said, okay, we can't just get by.
Yeah.
Like, things have to look different. So I think it's just challenging us to reach out to our parents, to our families, and remind them we, as a church, want to be a part
Yeah.
of them and helping their kids, come to know Christ, but it's going to look different. And so they're going to have to take a different role than they've used to taking.
Yeah, and I think that's the challenge for them.
Yeah. And so we're going to be here to help, but things are going to look different. But we're going to just need their support and just availability to be flexible and go with it.
So let's talk about that for a minute, because this is somewhat what me and Kenny talked about too. And we talked about some of the staff. I know some
Yeah.
of the staff went to eat yesterday. What's interesting about the model of church that we all grew up in and have been a part of, the majority of us for the majority of our life, us particularly, we've all been, it was a model that was based on sit and either be entertained or be given information or take care of your child.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think anybody would disagree or argue with that. I think we pretty much know it's like, man, we're gonna have the best music, or we're gonna have the funniest preacher, or the best. It's gonna be the deepest topic, but come in and we're going to take care of you, and we're gonna be better than anybody else at doing that. Or you're gonna like our method or our style better than somebody else. So come on.
Yeah. Or they would do that, and if it was, as their children's area wasn't as exciting, they're going to go somewhere else.
Exactly, and that's what I'm saying. It's kind of like, it was almost like it wasn't almost, it is consumer
Yes.
related. So it's like, I was a part of it. I built a $6 million entertainment venue
Yep.
with a playground that they may never be able to use again. Because if you got to sanitize it, you got to
Right.
clean it. I mean, all of those things were done not knowing where we would be. It was just kind of the way it was.
Mm-hmm.
It's the way that it was. And that's when I was a family pastor. So I only say that because my experience being in the ministry for long is I'm kind of evaluating all that. So now here we are today, and it's switching to, or it is in the process, or it has switched. So it depends on, I guess, where we are on that. That it's back to you as the family, or you as an individual going, wait a second, am I getting what I need, and how am I going to get that? So now it's media-wise. So in other words, instead of just going to a building somewhere, and the best communicators in the world are available to everywhere, to anyone. So you can get a church from California's preacher.
Yep.
You can get a church from, Atlanta. You can go, man, I like his style better. So they have a more choice than ever. But I think why I'm saying that is, it is also now for the family or the individual to go, but is that all Christianity is for me?
Right.
Is digesting or receiving
A
information.
message, yeah.
And we know that that's not. So I got an itchy foot.
I
Is that
don't know
wrong?
what was happening
what
there.
you-
I thought
good.
something was biting me, and I thought, if I go down with like a black widow bite in here, we're gonna have an issue. I don't know if it's
I
black
know.
widow. or
I
not.
was like, he's
These
not
are brand
it.
new socks, by the way. Y'all like those?
Thank goodness.
I love brand new
At
socks.
least they don't have holes in them.
No, these are brand spanking
There is
new.
something about a brand new sock.
Yeah. I love brand new socks.
I need new socks.
Sorry,
Never
we're
mind.
Don't
coming
take
back.
your shoes off.
Yeah,
I'm
please
not.
don't.
I'm not.
Yeah.
Trust me.
So going back to it, I go back to like what me and you were talking about, because we had a meeting earlier this week, and we're just brainstorming. We don't have
Yeah.
a clue either. And I'm going, well, would they come back for? Because some are saying, I'm not sure if I'm coming back or when I'm coming back, which biblically speaking, it's like, man, what does that mean? Does that mean that you're kind of letting your relationship with Christ go, or you're trying to grow with your kids and it's not as a priority anymore football is or baseball or dance is, but that's not. If you can't serve me, I don't really want to be a part of that. Or is it they're just going, I don't really know how to do that because I never did really get trained myself. So as a parent, I feel totally inadequate to do that. But then what I admire about you is like we were going, well, but we're trying to give you information, but we were noticing across the country, even watches. It all started off because it was new. Everybody's watching something cool, and that was. But then as it's gone on, children's programs, including ours, is like, well, okay, I'm gonna go to the lake, or I got something else I got to do. So they may not watch as much. All of that is stuff that we're navigating. I'm going, man, this is a crazy, unique time in history.
Right.
And that as we're navigating that, some of the things that we talked about was maybe a monthly gathering that you shoot for, that you kind of plan for, as opposed to every week Christy's going to do it. Because y'all did an amazing program before. You had drama and music and activities. And so, but if COVID's there, they may be going, I don't care how awesome it is.
Right.
I don't want my child
come
being
back.
sick.
And let's be honest, a lot of our families, a few years prior to COVID, not everyone, but we're on a trend of once a month or
Yeah.
so.
And all the researchers are saying that.
Yeah.
Carrie Newhoff and all these
Yeah.
other people way smarter than us, not
Church.
just in Shreveport
Yeah.
Bossier. We're going twice a month is the reality that they thought they were doing, but when they really tested them and they kind of, hammered down on it, it was really like once a month.
Right.
Because they thought that everybody was coming twice a month.
Right.
But we were
And even
kinda,
worse in the summer.
yes.
Right.
Yeah, because you're going out of town and there's
Yeah.
baseball tournaments and
Right.
Yeah.
whatever.
So I guess what, I want to do as a children's pastor is we know that. So how can we help the parent in the situation they're in now where
Yes.
we're not in church? And so we don't even have that 1 week a month
Yeah.
to connect with them. So we try to put out the media, but what we realize is, the kids can't do that themselves.
The parent
so
has
we
to
need
turn it
our
on.
parents to help us to turn it on and to encourage their kid to watch it or
and
talk
talk with them
about
about it,
it. Yeah. And so that's what we're just kind of looking at other ways to connect the parent to the church.
Yeah.
So we can continue to do what we've done just in a different way.
Yeah, and I think that's, again, what is so fascinating, interesting, is what does that mean and what does it look like? Well, obviously, thank God, thank you, Jesus, that at Symbol Church, it wasn't about the structures. Now, I understand some people are still hitting that drum hard, and I get it. If you got a building and you got a structure, you better be hitting that hard because you got to survive, and I understand that. On ours, that's where I'm thankful for the creativity and the flexibility of going, all right, well, what does it look like? How are we going to do this? And is there another way? And is there another method? Or is there, something that we can do that would help those families engage or give them the tools they need or the resources? So I think one of the things is, and I think you're doing this, and there may not necessarily be answering, is help us know what that is.
Right.
Like if you're sitting there listening to this podcast and you go, well, let me think through that. What is that?
Yes.
So like some of our ideas, is it, for example, that you would love a monthly, weekly, daily parent tip that you could watch on Facebook for 5 minutes and go, hey, here's something you can do today. And it goes, okay, quick, that was 5 minutes of my day. I can make that happen. Is it a weekly podcast where it's narrowing down and you're going, hey, this is what I learned. You're bringing in different parents and different experiments and you get to listen to what's happening. We don't know. We're asking from them. So we're
Yeah.
going, we're willing, and thank God have the technology to do a lot of those things. And ultimately, I think the reality, and I could be dead wrong, been dead wrong a lot, but that it will be the same, I just don't think it will be.
Right.
Like, if COVID was gone tomorrow, I think now it broke something.
Yeah. And it's just pushing us. Everything changes. But for some reason, the church, we're always last to change
Yeah.
because we're comfortable with what we've done and what we know. And we think it works because people still show up. So I think even for just me, having done it 21 years, it's just forcing me to go, okay, let's get with the new age. Let's figure this out. Let's
Yeah.
try something new.
Yeah.
So I think it was time to change anyway. So what that looks like, that's what we're still trying to
Yeah.
figure out.
And you're talking to smart people.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
you're very smart, but I'm saying, like, as smart as you are and all the experience you have, you're still going, let me go to some of these, seminaries and go,
Yeah.
hey, what are y'all thinking, or what's going on? So give a little bit of some of that who are you talking to? And
Yeah.
we're talking about very successful large churches as well.
Yeah, so next week I'm gonna try to meet with one of my associate professors at Southwestern. I went to Southwestern Seminary, and so she oversees children's ministry. And I have a friend that works at Lifeway, and she went to seminary with me, and we're all just kind of talking about how it's just gonna be different. Like
Yeah.
that's the big word. So we have to be willing to try something new. And no one knows what that is. And so every forum and every Facebook group I'm in, it's just like, what are y'all doing? What's working? We're all trying the same thing. So if you look at a church and you think they have it together because they're back meeting and their kids are back in their classes, it's still not the same.
Right.
Like, they're in groups with just a few kids, and the attendance isn't back, and so
When you can't
every
program
church
the
looks
same.
yeah, it's
So it's like, even if they were, it's just like you're doing now. And I think that's probably the tension, is you can ignore what's happening in the world and go, we're
we're going.
We're
gonna
going.
put it back.
And what I'm telling you is, so let's say that's you and you go, y'all just need to just come on. Let me introduce you to my friend over in Texas I just got off the phone with. Now that's causing a whole nother set of problems.
Right.
Because they barely got back. It wasn't what they thought it was going to be. It was challenging. And now they're looking at, we're fixing to
Have to
go
stop.
reverse, because a lot of their people even got sick. That didn't
Right.
happen the first time around. So now as it's blowing up, he's going, man, they had a band person get sick. They have people on their staff had been sick. Some of their, even their small group leaders were calling in and going, man, we're out. And then it started going, uh-oh, I was around you in the 30%. So they're going, we're quarantining for 2 weeks now.
Right.
Right,
So
which affects your job, which affects other aspects of life.
Yes,
So you start counting the cost.
Right.
Am I going to go do this and risk my job possibly, or maybe get my elderly dad sick, or?
Well, and it is funny. Like, I'll just go back to, so this goes back to children's ministry. Like, say they're meeting right now. I don't know this. Maybe you can confirm this. If someone is meeting, or if you know someone that's meeting with children's ministry, are they requiring masks for those kids?
Yeah, so just like if you were to put 4 different people in this room, the answer is 4 different responses.
Right.
So every church is going through the same thing. Most of the churches I've talked to have not started children's ministry back. There are a couple in our area. We kind of think of only the churches that we see driving down Benton and Airline.
Right.
But you kind of have to look at the whole country where every church is going through this. So I've talked to a lot of churches in all kind of states, and so most of them have not started children's ministry back, but do intend to put masks on volunteers, depending on their state rules. Though every state has a different rule, and churches don't always have to follow or are mandated to follow the rules. So then you're at the question of, but should I be doing what the rest of the businesses are
Yeah.
doing, or am I a church and I just get to do what I want to do?
Okay, so let me walk through that real fast, because we're not there yet,
Yeah.
but Texas is. So I got off the phone again.
Yeah.
Church down in Houston. They had not required masks. Because we were even debating this, like when we were coming back July 5th, you got your mask, which they're very cute.
They're
and
so
they're going to be in, because we were going, children's workers are and greeters are and blah 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 blah. But we were going, but the person, they don't have to. So that was kind of what we were
Yeah.
thinking. So they did that down there, and now they're going, uh-oh,
Yeah.
we got a problem. So now, talking to him today, it's mandated. If they're not meeting yet, they think that's coming. They think they're going to push back to the smaller groups of people, but maybe not. But the church has decided that, I know in that particular case of going, how in the world could you say it doesn't matter here? It matters at Home Depot and it matters at school, but there is a miraculous coding that when you walk into
Into
this
the
building,
church.
it doesn't matter, when it does matter. It's about getting these people together. So that's why we were going, well, we're not ready for that yet. We didn't even have enough masks to do that. And we weren't sure of what people were going to do. So we were like, let's start ordering and getting all our stuff in. And then we're going, y'all's are all coming in. But then we never really thought, are we providing those or are they bringing those and what the requirement would be? And those are the things they're going through now. So
Right.
they're going, uh-oh, we didn't really see that coming because they really didn't think that was going to be the case.
Yeah.
But a lot of the news and everybody right and left, so to make everybody happy, are going, all right, it looks like the masks really are a key component to reducing the transfer of disease. As Dr. Keith Scott said, how many ever weeks ago in our
Right.
podcast, he was like, look, I know you don't like it, but he was going, if you're going to avoid it or you're going to miss it, you're going to definitely increase your odds of not getting it by wearing a mask. And we were like, oh, okay, cool. And still, some did, some didn't, including me. I always didn't. You know what I'm saying? I'd be like, I'll be all right here. And then I'd go in a big store and I thought I should, but then a small store I wouldn't. I'm
Right.
like, you don't know what, but we're all personally still struggling with
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I just got back from Dallas. Went to Dallas this weekend to see Lauren, and man, she may be calling you because she's taking on an internship at a preschool for one of Matt Chandler's churches, and I'm thinking,
Awesome.
what a time to be jumping
Yeah.
into preschool ministry.
Goodness.
I
But
know.
we were in Dallas, and the term I used was creepy. Because, and I didn't realize, you explained this morning why we went in the mall and every store had a person posted at the entrance of the mall. And it's because they had just decided at midnight, the night we got there, that it was going to be required to enter any building, restaurant, whatever, you had to be wearing a mask. So we would go into a restaurant, you had to have a mask on to enter the building, you couldn't take it off until you sat at your table.
Yeah, see, so Kenny, to give it along, that this is in Houston, which is again Texas, which is the reason I keep referring to them. They're close. We already
Yeah.
remember.
And
we're
big.
going back and forth. You were just in Dallas. You're
I'm
scheduled to go
supposed to go,
Monday.
yeah, Monday.
I mean, we all are. That's just it's our people. It's like
Mm-hmm.
we're less than 30 minutes from the border of Texas, so it's back and forth. But he said that he was just like you. He lives there.
Yep.
He has a favorite restaurant in their neighborhood, and he goes, man, we got out. We got out of baseball practice. We're walking up there, and the lady comes out and says, "Stop."
Yep.
And he was like, hey, and he ate there last week.
Mm-hmm.
I eat there sometimes twice a week. And she said, you ain't coming here unless you have a mask.
Yep.
And he's like, we haven't never done that before. So that tension
Tension,
was there.
yeah.
And there's like, and then he's going, okay, well, I guess it's really happening. And now that's what he was saying is that there, in addition to that requirement, as of yesterday or today, I'm not sure which one, there's $1,000 fine for anyone in your business that does not have a mask on.
Right.
And he's confused. He's not sure. His sons play baseball. He's not sure, but the rumor is that it includes even an outdoor baseball practice for the parents because the Little League would be fined.
Fine.
The kids on the field don't run in and playing. There's enough movement, they say, and they're socially distanced by being on a baseball field. But for parents sitting in the stand, that there's a rumor that even if you're in the stands,
I know.
there's $1,000 fine, and that's the law now. That's not a joke, and they're saying that's how serious they are about trying to put it on
And
there.
you even have to put the mask on to go to the restroom.
Now hold on. So here's what me and Kenny were talking about, and he goes, now how crazy is it? Because of separation of church and state, the church doesn't fall under that yet.
That's right.
But you're that serious in the world, but you're going to tell them when they walk in the church, that was all a joke. You didn't need to
Great
worry
point.
about that. He was
So
like, I can't do it.
That's why we haven't started back.
Yeah.
Thank
when
you.
somebody's going, why? Because
I mean, why would we want to create more division? Like, that's
Yes.
all I keep thinking. And now we've told our leaders, and we have called, we have like 160 Simple Kid volunteers, and we've called personally, each one of those asking their opinion. And we just kept telling them, like, we are not going to be a source of division when
Yeah.
we come back. Like, we want everyone to be on the same page when we open. So if there's a room of 4 people and there's 4 different opinions on the mask, then we're not
Right.
ready. It's
yeah,
like,
because they keep fighting over it
why
or
would we
disagreeing
do
over it. Yeah.
that?
Well, I can even tell you locally at our own mall, Pure Bossier Mall, you can go into the mall without a mask, but every store requires you to wear a mask to put on before you go in the store, and they will kick you out if you do not have a mask on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Period.
and I
that's
would imagine
here.
that's probably going to progress to where there'll be somebody at the door at the edge of the mall that'll
Yeah.
make you put it on in the common area, because if they follow Texas's Because when I was in Texas, you couldn't even touch the doors.
No, you're not
Yeah.
supposed to.
Like the
I had
exterior
somebody
door of the
follow
mall.
me to the restroom when we were at the Galleria. It was so creepy.
It is. It's
And then
creepy,
there
man.
was like, it was me by myself and 3 ladies came in. One watched me to see what stall I went into.
Yep.
'Cause they gotta
She
clean,
went
too.
straight to that stall when I walked out. The other one walked over by the sink where I was, and the second I turned on the water, she started spraying the handle, and the other one was just watching. I walked out like,
And that's what I
okay.
call, that's a true frontline
Yeah.
employee, too.
yeah.
You think about, nurses, EMTs, whatever, but those poor people are standing in those restrooms.
Does she
all
have a
day.
mask on?
Yeah.
I would
She had a
hear it,
mask
though.
on, yeah.
I would hope so.
We had to wear them too.
Yeah.
but-
And I understand that the tension is okay. So we're talking church.
Yeah.
Okay, we went to business, and we're kind of. So then it comes back. So if you're a business person, that's the bull that you guys are killing. Dude, that's the problem. Is we understand that tension to exist and pay your bills and then pay your employees and navigate that. We're not saying we're experts. We're not even saying we understand it or fully agree, or we're trying to navigate it. And then you throw that into the context of a church, which is a choice.
Yep.
People are choosing to do that. So then you're going, we understand if you're a business and you're going, man, I got to survive and I've got to do what I got to do. And a lot aren't and some are. And then another reason, which is kind of heavy to think about, but the money runs out into the month.
Yep.
So people are trying to figure out what to do. Am I going to be able to pay my bills? Am I going to be able to make it through or survive? So all of that tension and that muddies the water for everybody. And then everybody's going, well, when you going to meet? And I'm like going, look, dude, we are trying our best. Now, what happens in a meeting or gathering? There's a lot that are positive. You can take care of a child and give you a break and let the child have an age-appropriate lesson, and there's an interaction with an adult other than yourself. All of those things are positive. You do get to see your friends and have that to where there's going on. So I'm not minimizing that.
Right.
But we also know that based on the statistical data that has been given to us, 30% or less are even choosing that.
And like people with kids,
And that's with no
it's
child care.
Even less. Like
Yes.
the families
Yeah.
with young kids in every church I've talked to are not coming back yet.
And let's talk about why. One is their fear of, catching
Yeah.
it, but also they don't want to sit with their kid in church.
No, who
Exactly.
would?
We've created a
We
culture.
did it back in the day.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that it's not made for that. The reason
Exactly.
why is an hour or 45
It's not even
minutes.
programmed that way.
Yeah.
No, it's
Right.
difficult. And the attention spans, this is where we were talking this week.
Mm-hmm.
You can argue with it and say, well, they just need to do better.
Right.
Well, come on, man. What year is this and how are we trying to do it? That's why we try to evolve the method. The message does not change, but the method has to change.
Yes.
It used to be a piano and an organ was all right.
Yeah, and I
Y'all
was-
ain't complaining about the drums and of course now some of them do complain about the drums, but that's a whole nother
I'm
issue.
flashing back to when you and me were in church when we were little,
Oh.
because this was back before we had any sense as a church, and there was no children's church, so you just sat through church.
You colored on the bulletin.
I hid Hot Rod magazines in my Bible,
Yeah, he did.
but we would get in so much trouble because we just couldn't sit still that Mom would pinch us
Yeah.
in the pew, and I'm thinking to myself, that only makes me move more. I think about it as a mom.
It only makes you not want to go to church. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
I mean, you're like, man, I'm
Right.
going to get in trouble. I know this is going to
I mean,
happen.
I'm
Yeah.
7 years old. I'm an idiot.
Yeah, I remember the pastor, like there was a section where they would call all the kids down to the front.
Oh, yeah.
And he
I've
would
done
tell
many
a
of those.
story for the kids, and then you would go back. And I always remember being so uncomfortable with that because I was like, "Who's this weird guy, and why do I have
Man,
to go to
that's
the front?"
that's because Captain Kangaroo and Mr. Rogers did that. They like
Yeah.
having them around, so they were
It's called
trying
a children's sermon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But it was in the main
It
sermon.
wasn't.
Yeah, it
nice.
was.
So
I've done
strange.
those
Yeah.
a lot.
yeah.
So now with technology,
I'd rather we not go back to that.
Please.
hey, there's some funny stories on that. I got one that's totally inappropriate. I'll save for another time. But just remind me when this is over, and I'll tell you one about a guy that's hilarious. Well, I'll kind of go through that.
Oh,
of course you
no.
will. I didn't
Yeah.
think
Yeah,
you
no.
were-
We can always
So
take
this
it out.
is, and by the way, the other day we couldn't remember who this was, but Mark and Todd Roberts were the two twins that would go around and do evangelism speaking in Baptist churches. And they're funny guys, love Jesus. They ended up working for First Priority and all these great companies. But because they were in all these other churches, they saw all these other experiences, like good, bad, and ugly. So when we would get together, open eyes, the worship band would play or they would speak, we would debrief about, did you hear what happened at this church? Did you see this or whatever? Well, this kid, they were in the Easter service. This is a sermon. This is just classic. They brought all of the kids down. The pastor was down there, and it was Easter, and like, Happy Easter, Happy Easter. Oh, good to see you. Whatever. Well, the pastor picked a little girl out in the crowd. Now, Mark or Todd, I don't remember which one it was, saw this happen. And he says, man, I'm telling you, I could not contain myself. The whole place was trying to be respectful, but didn't know how to get through it. But he picked this little girl up, and she had on a accordion skirt. You know what I'm saying? Like that, goes around, has all the pleats in it or whatever. And he said, little girl, whatever her name is, that is just a beautiful, beautiful skirt you have on. And she said, yes, sir. Yes, sir. And he was just like, man, I bet your mom is just really, really proud of you. Your parents just think you're beautiful. She said, yeah. She said, yeah, my mom, she really just said it was a beat of iron, though.
David's dad tells that story. Used to tell that story.
So I laugh. I don't know if it's true or not, but I can just laugh and think. Those things is why you don't open up a kid to have a little down. The Simple
you
Church.
Don't ask them a question.
Yeah, and Simple Church would definitely have some of that.
We would.
So
If the cousin pastor's there, a kid may let one
Oh
slip.
man.
afterwards, can you please explain to me what that? I didn't
So
get
it's
it.
basically got a lot of pleats in it.
Yeah, but she
So it's a
said,
skirt
yeah, it was beautiful, but my mom said it was difficult to iron. But with the cuss word where the word difficult is.
Did you zone out?
Yeah,
or-
he strokes
I
that.
thought he said beat iron.
No, a B to
a
iron.
B to iron.
Like
He was like controlling us.
Yeah, I'm trying to. It's a
Yeah.
kids show here.
I'm
When we were
blind, I'm
growing
sorry.
up, we taught our kids to say B starch
Yeah.
instead of the bad word.
Well, see, it was starched, but that may
That's
confuse
why,
them.
see?
So.
B starch.
Sorry.
Anyway, all I'm saying
Sorry,
is that's
sorry.
why we won't go there, Christy.
We
You're
won't go
safe.
back
You're in
to
a safe
that.
zone of no
I-
bringing down kids down.
I love that.
But all of that to say, methods, we're looking at them and we're evaluating and we're talking. So you're not going to have a kids sermon in the service where they come down and talk and I don't ask them questions. But we are trying to figure out, is there something that would help the parent that they want in a format that is digestible?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because you were going back to, as a mom, and watching everything. We're not on social media, so, John, you can't say anything.
I got
and
no
neither
comment.
can I.
Yeah.
But most people are using Facebook as a way to receive information in a
Yes.
quick format.
Yes. So parents, we know that you're on Facebook. So, our idea is to do something that is very short and quick that you can watch if you're in the car, you're at a sporting event or something, to just encourage you for a couple of minutes a day, a parenting tip or a challenge or an activity or a talking point question to talk to your kid about when you're in the car or right before you go to bed. Just something for you to grab a hold of for the day. I told Justin, he didn't understand this, but I can be scrolling through Facebook and see a Mama Mia's cookie decorating little post, and it will draw me in, and I will watch that for 5 minutes.
Right.
So I know parents that we do get sidetracked on Facebook. So we're talking about ways that we can engage with you and your kid when you do have a few minutes of downtime.
Yeah, and I think that's my question. And we want to hear feedback. They can email us at podcast, not with an S, podcast at the Simple Church, or Christy at the Simple
Yeah.
Church, or Justin at the Simple Church.
Glad y'all
TV.
figured that
Yeah,
out.
and you can also DM me or direct message on Instagram
But
and Facebook.
we just want to get the information
Yeah.
to go, what's helpful in that? What are
Yeah.
you looking for? Or what would be something that you'd walk away and go? Because that to me is the ultimate question, is I know they care about their spiritual development.
Absolutely.
But
we have some
what,
great families.
but what way do you want us to partner with you during this time? And what would you think would be the most effective? What tool do you want? Is it a better website? Is it a weekly email, which I doubt? Is it
I'm going to
a
say no, they don't
newsletter.
open those
See,
now.
but the reason we're saying this, and we were talking about right before we got on here, is you've done a great job putting together videos for kids. Just like I try to do a great job putting together videos for Sunday, but not everybody watches them.
Right.
So
And
then we're going, why? Like, what is it
Yeah.
that is hindering you from your child watching that?
Typically, if you think about in the past where parents would bring their kids to church and they're there an hour a Sunday, which that's 52 Sundays in a year. That's 52 hours a year. That's all we've ever had with their kids,
If
which
you're
is
lucky.
so interesting.
Because not everybody
And
makes 52.
No, so now if it's once a year, you're talking about 12 hours that I've had with their kids. And so in those hours, we would try to give them, a word. We call it a life app, something that God teaches them on the inside that they can change and implement and do something to change the world around them. So, and we're trying to just give them those small little pieces that they can take for the month. But now, if we don't even have those 12 hours, we're trying to figure out how can we partner with parents to even get those life apps out, which are in videos that are like 28 minutes or so long. But I know I'm a parent too, and I don't always, hardly ever, ask my kids if they've even watched the student message, you know? So and my kids are older and they have their own Instagram and they can watch what they want. So I know it's not easy. So what we're trying to figure out is what would help you get that content so that you can teach as the parent, or you can help guide your kid in those hours that we normally would.
Yeah, and that's where I was going back to. So, like, I think it's probably similar to what the adults told me. So when we launched Watch Party, so I had some of my friends. They'd watched some before. They would watch, I guess, depending on if they woke up or if whatever, but some were watching. But when they went to a watch party, I asked them, we were on the lake, or asked them when we were out to lunch, whatever. I'm like, hey, did you go? They're like, oh, yeah, we went to watch. And I said, well, what did you like about a watch party that you didn't like at home? And they said, well, if we were saved, one thing's probably just accountability. It's like, if you're going to meet me at that restaurant, it's like, hey, man, let's go. And then it generated the conversation where if we didn't have a chance to meet or to talk, we would have never talked about the issue.
Right.
So, like, it's the same way probably in some ways with kids and with parents possibly, is if you're not working together to go, hey, this is kind of a big deal to us, and you're not trying to work through that or asking you about that, you're probably not going to ever care about it.
Yeah.
So we're all driven by those other relationships. So if Facebook is it and it becomes the topic, or we get some momentum or whatever the method is, if it's YouTube or whatever, they're like, hey, man, did you see this? Did you watch that video? To me, that's what's hard on us, is the content has to be so whatever, good, inspirational, life-changing, that they go, oh, you got to see this. Because people will tell me that. That's why people joke with me, and I'm like, I use Steve Hartman because he's good. We don't have the quality. Tell me where you found the story of a white guy loving on a black guy from Africa that changed both of their lives in Shreveport Bossier, that's produced, and you can do it in 4 minutes. Right. You don't have it. I don't have it. So I can tell you the story, but in this generation, to visually see that or to be impacted by that, people tell me all the time, like, man, that was powerful. Man, I saw that, or that got me. It wasn't something I said. It's something that they saw or that's something they experienced. So that's the challenge, is like, we're not Hollywood. So we don't have the staff. We don't have the people. Now, by the grace of God, Symbol Church, if you want to know where some of your money's going, we're trying to hire more people for you to have a video person in there, have another person with student ministry, because we realize some of the content's being delivered that way where it wasn't as high a value before. So we're having to change that. And that may change in 6 months or a year, but right now it's pretty challenging to navigate all that.
Yeah. So one of the things we've talked about that we are exploring, that I am running by other churches in the area and outside of our area, is doing a once a month family worship experience. And if you've been a part of SK Summer before, typically the last night we'll have parents come in with their kids for a good 45 minutes and do a skit, a Bible verse, a small, short little challenge for the families, along with some worship time together. So that is the new idea that we are, I'm pretty sure that's what we'll try out for this first time we can move back together, maybe hopefully one in August. And then when that's over, instead of kids just going to small groups by themselves like they typically would in an SK Summer, maybe some of our parents attending a small group, or just like an encouragement little mini meeting to know that we are there to support them. We're there to help you. You know, the church has always been there to help our families.
Yeah.
It's just going to look different. And so we still want to do that and still want to partner with you.
What I like about that, we just did the Dad Day, Man Day event. We had, I'm a life group leader of a men's group. And first time I'd gotten to see some of them in a while because Man Day brought them out. But what I'm hearing from people, and I think we all know this, but it's nice to remember, is that part of what made church church was not just the information, but it was the relationships and the opportunity to see people on Sunday. So what's good about what you're suggesting and the watch parties now and some of the things we're doing is it's meeting a human need that's been amplified because of COVID. Because going back to mid-March, you've pretty much been discouraged from interacting with large groups of people. Well, that's kind of made a pent-up demand to be around people.
So here's my buck. So you're right. So here's the tension, though.
Yeah.
So that sounds good, but the problem is, or an opportunity is, so even now, I love them. We came up with the idea. We're throwing it out. Hey, is there a way to do it? And other people are going, hey, this is a good way to do it. And other people are launching watch parties around the country now that, I don't know if we were first or not, but we were pretty close on
Yeah.
the front cutting edge.
Let's say we were.
Well, I'm not saying we were, but I'm just
We're
saying.
doing it a lot. Yeah.
Yeah,
A lot
so
of
it's-
them are not starting for a few more weeks.
Yeah, so we're it was a way, but what's I guess the tension is, and this is why I'm coming back to it, and kind of to go back along with the family things. So say the number's down to 10, or say the number's less than 10. That to me is where I think our minds have to go anyway, for one of two reasons. One reason is there's a genuine connection and an availability to talk and work through things the smaller the group is. There's a value in a larger group that doesn't happen in a small group, but that's why I'm saying a monthly large group might be something we're able to do if COVID can go down and we have a way to do it. And we're far. That's all we've ever done is large groups. I think we know how to do large groups,
Yep.
and I think we can get back to that easier. Where we stink and where we've not been good and where a lot of people aren't good is they devalue the small group.
It's true.
So it's like, where's all the people at? Listen, if all we're doing is gathering and looking at a bunch of people and go, man, that was good, and then walk out of there and we really don't do anything different, then we're really not doing anything.
We're just checking that box.
We're checking
that we
the
went
box,
to
and it's
church.
better than nothing, but it's not where we're supposed to be. So the other side of it is if you're young families right now and you go, there's 3 young families going to get together and they're going to watch a lesson, and then they're going to work with their kids on it and hold each other accountable to whatever the kid's lesson is, it's going to be more effective.
No doubt.
Because you're going to have the accountability of one another. Like, Christy, man, hey, listen, this is what's going on with my kid. What do you think? Yeah, I'm struggling too. Here's the content to help you get better. How did it go implementing that? And I'm not talking about that dominates your conversation, but if there's not a spiritual component in your life or in the conversations, there's an issue. If Jesus is not affecting the way you're raising your children or spending your money or your relationships, then what are we doing? That's not really church. That's just going through to be entertained or to walk through the motions. And you can blame that's on the simple church. But I'm saying that's on all churches, capital C. So even though you may think we're entertainment based, what are you doing if it's no different? If you listen to a worship song and listen to a pastor and you walk out and we really don't live that out, regardless of what format that's in, Catholic, Baptist, Methodist, Simple Church, whatever, then we're really kind of fooling ourselves. And maybe that's why God's going, maybe I'm going to try to change it. Maybe we're going to just switch it up
I'll
a little bit.
encourage you because from my life group in the last 3 weeks, I've had a marriage crisis develop, I've had a financial crisis develop, and I've had an addiction pop out of somebody that had to be dealt with that would not have been dealt with on a Sunday morning in a large gathering.
Yeah, they wouldn't.
But they have a relationship with other guys, and they're not necessarily talking to me just as a leader either. They're using each other as resources and encouragement and sharing what's really going on in their lives. And that's where you're right on target.
Yeah, and I think the reason we don't do it, so speak up, get a word in here as far as families or not, it's because we're so busy, that's not the value. We're going to the simplest form of that. So, for example, I ain't hating, I'm not aggravating it, I'm not telling you it's wrong. I'm just saying I'm looking at the lives of my friends. Baseball or dance or school activities will get more time and energy than a spiritual activity. And what we're wishing for and longing for, get it back to where I can at least give it an hour. That's the easiest, and I'll feel better about it.
Yeah.
And the truth, the statistics and everything else were telling us, it really wasn't working that well. And so maybe God is once again, like we were in the church, going, y'all ain't listening. This is not working well. The more your child is involved, and there's always been, and I was a student pastor for a long time, there was always a small group of people that were very committed and very good. I mean, and they were there and they did everything. But the majority was like, I come and I go and I'll go to this camp and I won't. And but we're trying to expand that number towards a genuine relationship with Christ that changes their life, which changes their behavior, which changes the way they treat their friends and changes the way who they marry. It changes the way they do their jobs. Well, that's deep. That's not just
our kid. We think our kids are gonna be kids forever, and I guess you seeing Hannah graduate and Ian close, and Taylor is now they're seniors supposedly. I think they can call themselves
I think they can.
It's you realize that you did have to teach them this stuff when they were little.
Yeah.
And so we have to, as parents, not miss that opportunity. And instead, we're so focused on the things that they like to do. I'm just as bad. I'll sit in the parking lot for 4 hours for them to do the special activities that they want to do. And then I'm so tired and exhausted when I'm home that I'm not gonna take the time to talk through that issue or that problem the way we should do as parents. So I think right now we really are gonna have to make that a priority, and especially if we're not meeting in church and our kids aren't having that 1 hour, as parents we have to teach them when they're young, because they are going to be the adults.
Oh, yeah.
They are going to be married. They are going to be having households that they have to lead. And so I mean, that's why we're trying so hard.
I go back, and that's what me and you were joking about it, because you're admitting your weakness. One of my weaknesses, I remember, I'm a pastor. I'm a youth pastor or whatever, and I was trying to teach my kids and have that connection, like even through a devotion in the car or whatever. Ask Ian and Hannah and Emma what they think about it. They may go like, yeah, Dad, we remember. But what I hope they remember is that it was just a chance for me to go, whether it changed them or not, it was a moment for their dad to look at them and go, hey, man, here's what God is saying. And I had a book at one point where I had it in my console, and I'd pull it out. And then eventually I would read it before they got there, and then I'd just talk about it.
Yeah.
I finally figured out like a dummy, like, let's read Devotion 1.
Yeah,
they were like, but I didn't know.
Right.
And I don't know if it affects them or not. I mean, we can get them on a podcast and go, do y'all remember that? Do you care about
and
that?
they would say, oh, we couldn't wait
like
till we
that.
got to school, so you would quit talking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then here's what's encouraging to me is all of them want to work at the church.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're up there every day now, though. They're going,
Right.
hey, Dad, is there anything I can do? Can I help Miss Christie? Can I help Miss Robin? Can I do a video? Can I do whatever? Which I'm not saying that that's good, bad, or indifferent. I'm just going, as a dad, I'm like going, I want them to treat people differently. I want them to treat them the way Jesus would. I want them to date the way that Jesus would date. I want them to love the way he would love regardless of what it is, and work to the way Jesus would want them to work. Well, I hope that they get that. But I can say that I know you'd say, well, that's your pastor's kid, and blah, 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 blah. Well, y'all know the rumor, pastor's kid, so
Right.
whether that's true or not. So it ain't like that's a guarantee for success.
Right.
It's actually maybe a recipe for disaster.
Right.
But that if they are trying, you're going, man, I thank God for that. Well, that's what we want to do for everybody. It's like, look,
Yeah.
we're not experts, but man, is there anything we can do to make that a little bit better?
Yeah, we don't want you to have to sit down and have to come up with that devotion, but give you talking points when you do have those moments in
exactly
the car.
right.
Like that, those are, now that Taylor drives, I don't get the moments.
That's what I'm saying. That was gone.
And so you have to capture them if it's in the morning when you're making breakfast and you're grouchy and the kids are mad at you and nothing's going right, but you can throw one sentence in there that's encouraging for the day. And like the one question that I'll still ask my kids not after school since March, but anytime they've been out, what did you do for somebody else today?
Mm-hmm.
Like just one sentence, and then that could be, yeah, I didn't, and that happens a lot. Yeah, Mom, I didn't really do that today.
Yeah.
But that's when we can talk about, okay, well, what happened today? You see where you could have done something right there, or then I'll say, well, here's where I did really bad that right here, and I responded a way I shouldn't have, and what I should have done right here is taken this, and so it just gives you a dialogue that you normally wouldn't have because you typically ask open-ended questions,
Yep.
and they're like, oh yeah, I'm fine, everything was good, the day was great, or it stunk, and I have a lot of homework, or
And I'm gonna give you my deep insight along that line, and this is coming to me as we're sitting here. As a student pastor for a long time, people would drop their kids off to me, and I loved it. That's what I love to do, and it didn't ever bug me. Scott being one of them. He was a
Yes.
little funny looking. Look at the picture, but we love him.
we still love him.
We still love him. Still a little funny looking, but we love him. I'm just kidding.
No.
But here's what I'm sitting here thinking. The one thing that I got the privilege of seeing was many people's children or students, depending on their age, young, middle school to graduating seniors, experience God in a real way that their parents never got to see.
Right.
And that to me is something that has to change. So as we were talking this week, what I think that means, and a way to begin that, is some of the things that me and you dialogued about, and just give you me an example. Right now, everybody's like, well, I'm going to send my kid to camp. Boy, they're going to be better when I send them to camp. I'm going to tell you that what makes it special, and this is a lesson for me last year or 2 years ago, I surprised Hannah and Ian by showing up at high school camp. Stuart's a good friend of mine. I was going down to see them. I was like, let's just go down. They tell me to this day that when I walked in that room, they cried that I took the time to leave my house and come down and go, man, I'm proud of you for doing this. And hey, let me introduce you to my friend Stuart. Man, we did this year after year after year. And they go back to that moment of going, and we didn't even stay the whole time. We stayed for a day and a half. We saw there and then we were out of there. Me and Daniel had to get back. But what I think, Christy, and this is, we didn't talk about this. We were kind of going on this, but I think one of the things that may need to happen is that a parent has to wake up and go, I don't want to miss those. And so if I'm not going to miss them, then what if we plan one in the fall that we go, we're going to do all the fun stuff for you. We know how to have fun. Christy knows how to have a good program. We're going to have a great camp. We're going to do a fall retreat, and we're going to do a summer thing. But instead of you dropping your kid off, and we don't care if it's near as many kids, because I want the kids that go to go, man, Mom, you were my lead. Man, do you remember when we saw God do this? Do you remember when this happened? Because your kids will come home and tell you. But I'm gonna front John a little bit. I don't think John has a lot of those memories. Like for Lauren and Ashley, you didn't go to spend extended time through high school or through whatever. But as ministers, even if you had a couple, that's why you did.
Right.
Because the majority of people don't. The
Well, just
majority of
think
adults go,
about-
it's an out. Like, hey, man, you go enjoy your
Yeah.
time. Oh, I'll switch to focus one other just real fast. Paul and Don, they're great parents. But I can't remember them ever going and going.
Oh, they never went.
And if you were to
But it
poll,
wasn't even designed that way.
Right.
exactly. But what I'm saying is, like, I'm gonna go back to Robin when she was children's minister. She's missions now. They would do Pine Cove Family Retreat, which you
I
did
did
go
that,
to,
right?
and we were going back in the day of like. But some people are like, yeah, but I mean, they need to have their time away from me.
Right.
I remember people saying, I remember Wednesday night activities, for example. They would drop them off and go to the mall and shop and go run their errands, and they didn't go to Wednesday night church. They just dropped their kid. My kid needs that. Maybe what's the awakening is no, their kid needs some markers when they look back in their life that you were on the spiritual journey as well. And the lesson that you were walking through was not as an expert, but as a, man, that's a pretty good point. And not you're in a separate room and I'm in a separate room, and now let's go. Even if we tried to align our topics,
Right.
there's something about me and
And
you
the
doing it
experience together, yeah.
that you go back and mark and go, dude, I'll give you another. It's like senior trips. They were not spiritual in its of itself. Me and Bobby did these, but I had all of these amazing experience with those kids. And there was a spiritual element to that they still long. And some of you are listening. Minda Howe, I know she's one of them. You know, she's going to go, Justin, I remember we went to Los Angeles. I still remember riding in that van. I can still Why? Because there was something about that extended amount of time together on a spiritual side of it, not just family vacation. We're going for a spiritual purpose, and we're going to have fun. But they kind of make these memories where I'm going back, if we go a fall retreat and we do a summer thing and we go, there's more parent involvement and a monthly thing, where we're going, don't drop them off, be a part.
Right.
Maybe it changes the way it's done.
Well, another thing that you've done, Christy, and I've been a part of too, is like family mission trips.
Exactly.
Same concept.
It is.
Where you just get that multiple days, travel time.
And we all agree, wouldn't y'all all agree, even as adults, we need the time away to get our heads done,
Yeah,
right, to get
absolutely.
right.
Oh yeah, we're
So it
like
benef-
different people when you're away from your job and
and
your
then
home.
and the kids are the same way. So
Yep.
like to put those together and more strategically plan that.
Right.
Because I'm gonna go back to this, and this is you growing up Simple Church, your daughters. When we get a youth pastor,
Right.
when's that guy gonna solve this problem? Who's the magic guy? Oh, he's way more energetic. That guy's better looking. Oh, he can sing, or this guy's a better speaker. When maybe God's going, dude, it ain't about the magic Pied Piper. It's really about, as a family, you involved and giving you opportunities that you can and you will discipline yourself for, budget for, plan for, and that becomes what you've already said. This ain't new for what you're saying, Christy, and what Orange has been saying, but maybe the whole thing had to break
I think so.
because it wasn't gonna change.
And you try to make it change, but everyone's so used to how it is that you just, and it's easy. Let's be honest. When things are comfortable, it's easier to just keep going. It's working. Why make a change?
Right.
But you know that the dynamic needs to be different, and that we need to help our parents in a different way. And especially with my kids being older now, I want them to get things
Yeah.
differently. And just like I was thinking as you were talking about that, like going parasailing this summer. Hillary and I did that. Well, we're trying to explain that to David, and he wasn't there, and how awesome and cool or whatever
difficult.
it was. You send a picture, and it's still not the same. So if you are in that experience with your kid, you're not having to explain it to them.
That's
You're
exactly right.
enjoying it together. And like, then that's the memory you have forever.
And you
connected.
only, well, okay, I'm joking with Dad on Father's Day. I put up the axe murderer picture. Okay, we had a couple of vacations together. Not good experiences, but we do have a couple. And it's funny now we're able to do it. Well, that's why I changed and said I'm going to have vacations with my kids.
Right.
Well, it's the same principle. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't have spiritual stories or markers through their childhood. Now I do, thank God for SK Summer or Summer Survivor. We had it back then, but it wasn't a lot.
Right.
It was more like, y'all go down there and
You
go do
go
this, and
out
we're going to
and
do
they go.
this. Y'all go figure that out. And that may be, again, one of the big changes that people see that we're trying to do as we're navigating this. The one thing I don't like to do, and Simple Church is an example of it, and Christy, thank God she came to us and know that that's a godsend. We don't like just doing it to do it.
Yeah.
We're trying to figure out, is it working or not? And then is there a better way or a more effective way to have an impact?
And we don't want to do it where you got to bring your Hot Rods magazine and I have to pack a purse with like Polly Pockets in it to entertain myself during church, even though
Exactly.
you were in the same service together. That's not helping
that's-
anyone.
that's not
we know
positive.
that. But we want to connect the parents and kids in the same experience in a different way.
Yep.
So that's why I'm thankful. I know we're running out of time. We're going to go Facebook Live this afternoon to even talk more about that. 5:30. If you happen to
Yes.
get it today, if you're listening, but you can go back and watch it. Facebook Live, is it still up after it's over?
Yes, you can go back
so
and watch it.
somebody, if they miss it,
I
they
like
can
how
watch
you looked at her because you don't have a clue.
it. There's a lot I don't have a clue about.
It's okay.
Social media and all that, I got nothing.
But our
I'm excited.
parents are on there.
But I'm just telling you, I'm thankful for your creativity and that you're thinking out of the box and that we're in the process of trying to figure that out. And I'm thankful you're on the team and that you're leading it.
Thank
That's
you.
right.
Glad to
I
be a
am
part of
too.
this team.
Well, I'm
Thank you
but
for
it's
letting
true.
me be Gordo.
I know Scott's a part of our Simple Kids team.
Yep.
That's
Awesome.
That's a good thing. We got more to come.
That's
So,
right.
Thank you
Yay.
for tuning in.
Yeah.
Until next time.
What do we say?
Peace, my brother and sister.